The first families move carefully across the landscape, following rivers rich with fish and forests filled with deer and wild boar. They leave behind simple stone tools, woven baskets, and traces of small camps that slowly become permanent villages. As centuries pass, the people learn to live with nature rather than conquer it. Massive shell mounds grow along the coast, evidence of generations who depend on the sea for survival. Beautiful clay figures and carefully crafted pottery begin to appear, becoming some of the oldest pottery ever created by humanity. Time continues to accelerate. The forests remain, but new ideas arrive from across the sea. Around 3,000 years ago, travelers from the Asian mainland introduce a revolutionary technology. Rice farming transforms the land forever. Dense forests are cleared, irrigation canals spread across fertile valleys, and organized farming communities replace scattered settlements. Bronze bells ring during ceremonies while iron tools make agriculture more efficient than ever before. Population rises rapidly, and villages become larger and stronger. As generations pass in only moments, powerful clan leaders emerge. Competition over fertile land leads to conflict, alliances, and the birth of early kingdoms. Giant burial mounds begin appearing across the countryside. Some stretch hundreds of meters in length, surrounded by moats and guarded by rows of clay warrior statues. These enormous tombs symbolize the growing authority of rulers who unite more and more of the islands under their control. Foreign influence continues to reshape the nation. Writing systems, advanced architecture, Buddhism, and new political ideas arrive from China and Korea. Magnificent wooden temples rise above the landscape while elegant pagodas reach toward the sky. Monks copy sacred texts by hand, and the first organized government begins taking shape. Roads connect distant provinces, allowing officials, merchants, and travelers to move more easily than ever before. The capital shifts to Nara, where one of the world's largest wooden buildings dominates the city. Inside stands an enormous bronze Buddha, reflecting the growing importance of Buddhism throughout the islands. Government officials carefully record taxes, census information, and laws. Japan gradually develops its own unique identity while continuing to learn from neighboring civilizations. The capital moves once again, this time to Heian, the city that will later become Kyoto. Elegant palaces, peaceful gardens, and graceful wooden bridges fill the growing capital. Noble families compete through poetry, music, calligraphy, and literature instead of warfare. Court culture reaches extraordinary sophistication. Writers produce timeless masterpieces while artists perfect styles that remain symbols of Japanese beauty for centuries. Far from the royal court, another class quietly grows stronger. Skilled horsemen armed with bows and swords begin protecting estates across the countryside. These warriors, known as samurai, value loyalty, discipline, and honor above all else. As political struggles intensify, military leaders gradually replace court nobles as the true holders of power. The age of the samurai has begun. Castles appear across strategic hills and mountain passes. Armor becomes more sophisticated, swords are forged with incredible craftsmanship, and generations of warriors dedicate their lives to mastering combat. Powerful clans battle one another for influence while ordinary villagers continue farming beneath the shadow of constant conflict. In the late 13th century, danger arrives from across the sea. The Mongol Empire launches massive invasions against Japan. Thousands of ships approach the coastline carrying experienced soldiers from across Asia. Fierce battles erupt on the beaches, but powerful storms suddenly destroy much of the invading fleet. These legendary winds become known as the Divine Wind, or Kamikaze, reinforcing the belief that the islands are protected by destiny itself. Centuries pass in moments. Political authority weakens once again, and rival warlords compete for total control. The peaceful countryside transforms into battlefields. Massive castles surrounded by stone walls dominate the landscape. Fire, smoke, and armies sweep across the nation during the violent Sengoku period. Brilliant military commanders introduce new strategies while firearms brought by Portuguese traders forever change the nature of warfare. One leader after another moves closer to unifying Japan. First comes Oda Nobunaga, who shatters the old balance of power. His successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, completes much of the unification process and launches ambitious reforms. Finally, Tokugawa Ieyasu secures decisive victory, establishing a military government that will rule Japan for more than 2.5 centuries. Peace returns. The great castles remain, but battles become rare. Cities expand rapidly. Edo, once a small settlement, grows into one of the largest cities on earth. Merchants prosper, craftsmen refine their skills, and vibrant entertainment districts emerge. Kabuki theaters attract huge audiences while woodblock artists create colorful prints that will one day inspire painters across the world. Although Japan limits foreign contact, its culture flourishes in remarkable ways behind closed borders. The peaceful rhythm of the Tokugawa era continues for generations. Roads become crowded with merchants, craftsmen, pilgrims, and travelers. Bustling towns expand into thriving cities. Rice fields stretch farther than ever before, while fishing boats fill every harbor. For more than 2 centuries, Japan remains largely isolated from the outside world, preserving traditions that become deeply rooted in everyday life. Then, almost instantly, the world arrives at Japan's doorstep. Dark steam-powered warships appear on the horizon. Their black smoke fills the sky as foreign powers demand that Japan open its ports to international trade. The centuries of isolation come to an abrupt end. The old political order begins to crumble, and across the nation, people realize that survival now depends on rapid change. In 1868, a new era begins. The Meiji Restoration transforms Japan with astonishing speed. The authority of the shogunate disappears, and power returns to the emperor. Samurai lay down their swords as a modern national army replaces the ancient warrior class. Traditional clothing slowly gives way to Western uniforms and business suits. Wooden roads become railway lines. Telegraph wires stretch across mountains and valleys. Steam locomotives race through landscapes that had remained unchanged for centuries. Factories rise where rice fields once stood. Smokestacks replace castle towers as symbols of national strength. Shipyards launch powerful steel warships, while modern schools educate millions of children under a unified national system. Electricity illuminates growing cities, and Japan rapidly absorbs science, engineering, medicine, and industry from around the world. Within only a few decades, the nation accomplishes what had taken other countries centuries. The pace of history accelerates even further. Expanding industries demand new resources, and Japan emerges as a major military power in East Asia. Victories in international conflicts demonstrate its growing strength. Modern battleships patrol surrounding seas while factories produce weapons, machinery, and locomotives at unprecedented speed. Cities continue expanding as millions leave rural villages in search of new opportunities. As the 20th century unfolds, the skyline changes once again. Automobiles appear beside horse-drawn carts. Concrete buildings rise above traditional wooden neighborhoods. Airplanes fill the skies, radios enter homes, and the population grows larger than ever before. Japan stands among the world's most rapidly modernizing nations. Then the world descends into global conflict. Factories shift from producing consumer goods to building tanks, ships, and aircraft. Soldiers depart from crowded railway stations as families gather to say emotional farewells. Massive naval fleets cross the Pacific Ocean. Air raid sirens echo through the cities. Bombing campaigns leave entire neighborhoods in ruins. Smoke darkens the skyline as years of war bring unimaginable destruction. In August 1945, two unprecedented explosions forever change human history. Entire cities are devastated within moments. The war comes to an end, leaving Japan exhausted, shattered, and facing an uncertain future. Across the country, countless buildings lie in ruins. Railways are damaged, industries have collapsed, and millions begin the difficult task of rebuilding their lives from almost nothing. Yet from these ashes begins one of history's greatest recoveries. Construction cranes fill the skyline, rubble disappears as new homes, schools, bridges, and factories rise with incredible speed. Modern highways spread across the islands. High-speed rail revolutionizes transportation, connecting distant cities in only a matter of hours. Bullet trains glide across the landscape with remarkable precision, becoming symbols of efficiency admired throughout the world. Japan's economy enters an extraordinary period of growth. Automobile factories produce vehicles recognized for their quality and reliability. Electronics companies introduce revolutionary televisions, cameras, computers, and music players that reach homes across every continent. Shipyards, steel mills, and manufacturing plants operate around the clock. Japanese innovation becomes respected worldwide. By the 1980s, dazzling city skylines dominate the horizon. Neon lights illuminate enormous entertainment districts. Crowded intersections pulse with life day and night. Towering skyscrapers stand beside centuries-old temples, creating one of the world's most remarkable contrasts between tradition and modernity. And